Hi and welcome back. If this is your first time here, my name is Rachel and I blog at thislovelylittle.farmhouse.com. And today I am gonna talk to y'all a little bit about our homestead farm dreams for the new year for 2022 and a little bit about our failures of the past year and things that we learned from, because that's what failures are. They're learning opportunities. You can either learn from them or you'll give up. So we choose to learn from them and hopefully do better in the new year. So we live on a small homestead. A lot of people would probably call it like a hobby farm. We have turkeys and chickens and ducks and a couple of goats, dogs, cats, a horse, a Jersey milk cow, and then we raise our own beef. Yeah. So we have quite a little, setup here and we really enjoy it, but there's always room for improvement. So a few of our goals for this year, one of my personal goals, and I talked about this in my garden video, what I'm planting this year, so I'll link to that video, but one of my goals is to grow and preserve as much of our food as possible. Also raise, so like grow, raise, and preserve as much of our food as possible, just to be have a sustainable food source, to not be reliant on the commercial, grocery store as our food chain. I really, really like the whole, bringing it home idea. I think it was really cool when the government, during the war, used to tell people, grow a garden. I wish they still did that kind of stuff. For one, it tastes so much better, and for two, people would be so much healthier if they grew their own food and ate what they grew. So that's one of the big ones for me this year, is to improve at that. We grew a lot last year. I canned green beans and we put up peas. So my goal is to do more, to grow more of the food, to preserve more of the food than I did last year. And also along that same vein, we raise our own beef. And so this year in 2022, we want to add another meat source to our homestead. I've been thinking a lot about which ones we wanted to do. We could do, we already raised chickens, so chickens would be relatively easy since we already raised chickens. So we could do chickens. I thought about rabbits. I've seen a lot of people talk about raising rabbits, that the meat tastes good, that they're really easy and reproduce quickly. So rabbits was one we considered, and pigs. So I think we settled on pigs. This year we're gonna try to get a couple of pigs and raise them and butcher them. We'll do them ourselves. And that was another thing about the calves, the beef. My dad actually butchered one of his own last year. We went over there and watched, helped. It's a major undertaking though to do a cow because they're so huge. But he did do it, and it's kind of an all-day affair, but it's not as difficult as some people would think. But the smaller animals like pigs, rabbits, chickens, goats, they're so much easier to do yourself. So that is one of the goals too, along with doing another meat source. It's something that we can process and put up ourselves. We may also try to do some meat chickens. We have some chickens that are a heritage meat breed. They grow a lot slower, but they're called Jersey Giants. So that's another goal for this year, is to get finished with our setup to hatch our own birds. We typically have just bought all of our birds as chicks from the co-op or the feed store because we don't have a good setup for hatching and we didn't have a good incubator. We got a good incubator, but we need a way to separate out our chickens because we have a lot of different breeds of chickens, and I really want to do purebred chickens. So we have these Jersey Giants. I want to separate them out and hatch Jersey Giants to raise for meat. We also have some of those Ayumi Samanis, the all black ones. I want to separate them out and raise some more of those. So that is another one of our big goals, is to finish our little containment pen to keep them separated. We already have a brooder, we have the incubator, just to finish getting that all set up so that we can easily hatch our own birds and not have to buy them from the grocery store. Not have to buy them from the feed store or the co-op. Another one of our big goals, we have a pasture in the front of our house, between the house and the road. It's probably about 5.5 acres. The problem with it is it's almost all woods, so it doesn't have a lot of grass, and when we have our animals in there, they graze it down super quickly. We have some more in the back that's almost all grass, so one of our big goals is to get that area fenced in so that we can rotate the 2 pastures and not have such a load on one pasture to where it gets eaten down to the ground and it takes a really long time for that grass to grow back. It's just hard on the pastures. So we'll be able to rotate. And then also that will be better for the pigs. They will probably do a lot better in the wooded area because they love like roots and acorns and stuff like that. And then we can have our cows and the horse more in the grass area. So my last big goal for 2022 is I am learning about compost. I've never done compost before. All of our scraps, we've always just fed it either to the dogs or the chickens. But there are a lot of things that even the chickens don't eat. So my goal is I've already started a compost pile, to get some compost going, because compost is really, really great for organically improving your soil. It's super, super nutritious and good for putting the nutrients back into your soil that the vegetables suck out of it when they grow. So composting, really, there's a lot to learn about it, doing it, and using that to improve our gardens. Those are the goals. What are the failures? So one of the failures, we have a bunch of chickens. I don't even know how many chickens we have, like 20 something. One of our failures of 2021 was we went for like probably 6 months and did not get a single egg from all of those chickens. And now, keep in mind, this was in the summertime. This was when they should have been laying eggs, and we were not getting any eggs at all. There was about 4-part problem here. We did figure out a lot of them, and we remedied them. One of the problems was the chickens did not have a good roost, and then also the nesting boxes were staying just a mess all the time because they were roosting in the boxes, and they were always scratching the hay out. It was just a really big mess in the coop. We remedied that by, Eric built some really nice roosts in there that are working out well. So they're not, they are still getting in the nesting boxes some because they're not used to the roost yet. We have to go in there and put them on the roost every night. A few of them are finally getting the hang of it. But the nesting boxes are staying cleaner. We're keeping hay in the nesting boxes. So that situation is better. The feed situation was also a problem because the chickens, we had all of our birds together. The chickens, the turkeys, the ducks, they were all in there together, and the turkeys are like extremely vicious when it comes to feed. They just like go it and gobble it all up super quick. Gobble, haha. Anyway, I cracked myself up. So it was like stressing the chickens to have all of the birds together like that. So what Eric started doing was he separates the ducks out into a separate little pen, and they now go in there by themselves. They like having their little area. And then the turkeys, the big turkeys, are staying out. So the chickens are kind of in there by themselves now. And also he put this hanging feeder inside the coop so that they can, like, we have a little spot on the bottom of the coop where the chickens can go in, but the bigger like turkeys and things can't fit in there. So the feeder is in the coop. The chickens can go in there and eat in peace without being attacked, without, having to gobble the food down because something else is going to eat it. And then also they're getting free choice feed in there. So they're getting a lot more feed because they're actually getting to eat it. That has made a big, big difference with the chicken situation. The other thing that I finally figured out one day, I was out there and one of the dogs came out with an egg in their mouth. So we used to let our chickens out every day. They pretty much free ranged all the time, which is great. We don't have a lot of problems doing that. But the dog was going into the chicken coop and getting the eggs. Now, I don't think the dog was eating all the eggs every day. I really don't think we were getting very many. But if we got 1 or 2, the dog was eating them. So now we are keeping the gate closed so that the dog can't go in there and get them until after we've gotten the eggs, and then we'll let the chickens out. So now it is like freezing cold, unseasonably cold for us right now. We've had like a week or a week and a half already of really, really cold temperatures, getting like below freezing every night, and have another week left to go of that, which is so crazy for us. And our chickens are laying tons of eggs. We're getting 11 eggs. We started out with 8. We had 8 consistently for a few days, and then we got 9, then we got 10, and now we're up to 11, which is just crazy and super exciting to me. So that was one of our failures, was the whole chicken egg situation. And we made changes, and that's doing a lot better. The other big failure was the garden, and I talked about this a lot in one of the last videos I did talking about what I'm planting this year. We had a lot of problems. None of my squash or cucumbers or pumpkins or watermelon, none of that stuff grew because I planted it all outside of the garden area in different places, and I think it was a soil problem. It wasn't in the part that had like been improved and been tested and had things added to it. I think that's why none of them grew, because they didn't grow at all. It's not just that they didn't make, they didn't even grow. They just pretty much died when I planted them. And then also, I talked about this too, I had a big, long, dedicated bed for herbs and flowers. And we put some dirt in there that Eric got close to where he works. And it had a lot of like wood chips in it. And I think it was way too acidic because it pretty much killed everything I put in it. So that was another big failure. So none of my herbs, none of my flowers did well at all. So those were the 2 huge failures for our garden. And hopefully we're going to remedy that this year, because I'm not going to plant those other things where I planted them last year. I'm going to plant them actually in the garden. And then we're going to replace that bad soil with some good soil and hopefully get that doing better. So those are our 2 major homestead failures last year. Stuff happens all the time. We've had other things happen. We had a lot of problems with our milking stall. The rain washes under there and it just kept washing out the dirt, washing out the dirt, washing out the dirt. So that was a pretty big problem that we haven't remedied yet. We have to get that remedied because our cow is going to calf soon. We'll need the milking stall to be able to milk her again. But yeah, stuff's always happening when you have animals, when you have a garden. You know, I mean, stuff happens anyway, but it's always something. It's always something. So those are our goals, our failures. You know, let me know if you have a homestead or you're wanting to start. What are your goals and failures? It's a really good thing to think about that at the beginning of the year, because if you don't set your goals and you don't make a plan, it's not going to happen. You know, one of my favorite, most relevant kind of quotes in my life right now is planning to fail is failing to plan. And I really do believe that. So I'm working this year on doing better with planning and doing things intentionally, because if you don't do it intentionally, it's not going to happen. Thank you for being here and following along. Hopefully I'll be able to show y'all as these goals come to life. Thank you for joining, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.